What's up guys, this is Cher talking, welcome back to my channel. In today's video we'll be making a full review for the summer Byunei's banner. This is a little complicated because the character may not seem so important right now, but she may change a little in the future. She's a healer with very defensive capabilities. Then we have Leslie, agility debuffer specialist without much damage, and Professor, a character that can be used for farming but also a healer that can replace Mask? Well, not so sure about that. Let's start talking about Byunei, and she has a very nice status distribution. As you can see, 90% endurance, 90% will for a mage is not that common. She also has 106% agility top class and 118% intelligence top class as well. So for status they have very good values. Besides charisma being 71%, that's also a very good value, so she can self-heal pretty well. Now for passives we have Rising Dive. When attacked, damage will be reduced by 25% at all times. Also, on the end of a turn she gets 15 points of Overdrive Gauge. Remember that you need 100 points in order to trigger Overdrive. And when she attacks during Overdrive, she's gonna chase with the Rising Earth Plus attack. That is a S-power full AoE attack that uses slash damage and triggers defense boost of large effect, decreasing damage taken by 35% and lasts for 2 turns. She's gonna take between 2 to 3 turns to reach Overdrive, depending on the attacks that you're gonna cast and depending on how many times you get hit by enemy attacks. So at least 2/3 of the fight you're gonna have the defense boost active. The second passive is called Elemental Heal 2. On the end of a turn she's gonna heal for around 180s. On odd turns she will also recover 2 BP. That means that on average she gets 4 BP per turn. And on even turns, that means 2, 4, 6, 8 and beyond, she's gonna buff agility, intelligence and charisma by 15%. This is a way to just try to call back some passives from past versions of herself without losing something new. And she has very high agility, intelligence and charisma to begin with. This is gonna make her even better. The third one is High Protect Tension, decreases damage taken at all times by 30% and increases damage capabilities by 20. This is her only damage passive, 20%, but she's more of a boss specialist with some support, so damage is not her main gameplay anyway. So in the end we have 25% damage reduction, and then 30, and then another 35 when you use an overdrive attack for 2 turns. This is insane. She's not gonna take much damage. It's even higher than the latest Princess White Rose that has 2 different defensive passives. So she will be alive when you need to heal and revive the party. Now for skills, the first one is called Gale Needle. It's a free spell so that you don't need to use normal attacks. That is critical against flowing enemies and deals slash and pierce damage with E-Power. Well, E-Power is pretty low, but the skill is just free. And it also gives her guard up small. That will decrease damage taken by 12%, lasts for 2 turns, so you can cycle the skill with others to keep the guard up small on the character to make it even more defensive. But then there's something else here. They added a new effect. When you are using this skill on Overdrive, you will also grant all other surviving allies guard up small that will last for 2 turns. Like I said, this character gets to Overdrive every 2 or 3 turns. That means that you could kinda keep this up most of the time, but guard up small is not that big. It decreases damage by 12% only, and there are many characters with better values like Time. He buffs guard up medium, decreasing damage by 25%. Also, when you are using Overdrive, you don't want to use a very weak attack because you're just kinda wasting the potential increase in damage. Although she's still gonna chase with Rising Earth Plus, so you get a little damage here. Now, skill number 2, Summer High Wind. For 7 BP, you get a fast attack that deals slash and pierce damage with C power. Remember that she will have enough to use this attack 2 times in a row, so it's useful for farming as well, especially if you're using the Magia Fight formation. Place Byunei in the back, she's gonna contribute to damage if your character is not doing enough to kill a wave. It's also critical against flowing enemies and gives an attack boost that will increase damage of the party by 15%. Remember that this does not really translate into a direct 15% increase in overall damage because we have the passives of the characters, the forged weapons, but this will be around 5% at least increase in the damage output of everyone in the party. And when using this as an overdrive attack, you get a different effect as a plus, and that one is an attack down to the enemies. So all enemies in attack down will decrease damage by 15% on the source. This effect is actually pretty nice, and attack down stacks with morale down and all other stances of attack down. But this is actually very rare to find, something that Eaglemal has, as you can see in her second skill, Malicious Trick. So if you use those two characters together, for example, they will stack, but you can still use at least one with morale down effect and everything will just stack. So I believe that this is the best skill to use on overdrive, because attack down is better than guard up small, since this stack with any sources, while guard up small will clash with other guard ups. The last spell is called Sky Convalescence, and for 10 BP and also 2 LP, you will recover and revive all surviving allies, and also give them 2 BP. This has deep power. This is the same power as Ring of Life from the Surfing, as you can see here. Her version is 8 PP. Byunei's version costs 10, because she gives 2 BP to the party, including herself. In the end, you're just spending 8, but you are giving 2 BP to the party, and that can help a lot. It will shorten the cycle of some skills and spells. Let's say you want to use, for example, Rag Robin's Rising Phoenix X, but you're just lacking 1 BP on the next turn. This will fix the problem. She can use this 2 times in battle. The only problem is that this comes with an old design of using LP to heal. On JP, they eventually start getting spells that don't cost LP anymore. They just have a limited number of usage. If this was current JP, she would just be able to use the spell 2 times without spending LP. The good thing, Byunei will likely not die normally, so even if she dies once, she can still be revived once. She will always have 2 LP left after using these 2 spells. But here comes the question, when she's not healing, what else is Byunei doing in a boss fight? She's there alive, but what spell will you be using? Okay, Gale Needle, it's free, you can use it once, and then you have to cycle Summer High Wind. But this only gives attack boost if it's not on overdrive, so you're not getting too much out of this. You can say that on non-overdrive turns you are using Gale Needle, on overdrive turns you are using Summer High End. But this may not be enough. So this is the current problem of the character. Inheritance options. Byunei was a meta character in the past because she could debuff agility or dexterity with premium levels. This version of her has Wind Bloom, a fully AoE attack that debuffs dexterity by up to 15%, and she can use it any time. The first version had Aerodyne. Instead of debuffing dexterity, she could debuff agility. That was also very useful in the past. Now bosses just use the 5 weaknesses most of the time, and you cannot keep the debuff active. She also has this Trinity Summon spell that debuffs 3 different status at the cost of 1 LP, or Heaven's Breeze that debuff both agility and dexterity. Those things were useful, but now, if a boss cleanses debuffs, the value is lost. So you can inherit one of those spells I just mentioned, then it will work, but in very, very specific fights. So this problem is fixed, and I have to explain when. It will only happen with future versions of Byunei. There are 2 versions of Byunei that will be released in the future. This one is around 7 months of release from now, and she has this spell that belongs to a different type of design. You can only use it once, but it does not spend LP. It buffs her own status by 50% on max level, but gives 20% defense up, and she uses once, and you have it for the whole fight. Then she also has a skill number 2 that is fully AoE attack with morale down medium. Imagine if she had access to this right now and she could just overdrive morale down together with attack down. There will be enough support to justify her presence in boss fights. But sadly you have to wait for something like this in order to make the character better. The skill number 3, she gets damage block to the party. That's kind of like the Metroid shield, where she heals and applies an evasion. Well, here we will not heal, but we will apply damage block and you will negate 1 hit of damage. So another character that has something unique that will work for very hard content. So with the release of this version, Byunei is already good enough. The next version is also interesting. Why? This version has a recovery spell that does not use LP and can be used 3 times in battle. She also buffs her own love before healing, so the healing will be better. She also applies 1 evasion. Very nice. The second skill is a 3 status buff. That is Endurance, Will, and Charisma. The status that she has very high values right now. And also recovers HP. We have to remind of a character that is Diana. Global X style, she has this skill called Prayer for Peace. She cleanses, Byunei doesn't, but well, you may not need to cleanse. She recovers HP, just like Byunei, and buffs Endurance and Will. So you are losing the cleanse effect and getting a Charisma buff. So 5 EP instead of 8, right? This version of Byunei, like I said, current has 4 BP per turn. So she can actually cast this many times, just like Meteor can cast beyond buffs. So it's already another way to keep making Byunei better. And this will work for very hard challenges. She also comes with this other spell that buffs everyone's agility by 30%, but it costs 8, it's just a little too much. But there's more. When she heals, she will trigger this defense up to the party that decreases all damage taken by 10% for the whole fight. When she heals someone, she can use the AoE heal. That means that she will apply the defense up 2 times because she can heal 2 times with AoE. But you keep buffs that you can use with skill number 2. See, you will have plenty of different utilities for Byunei in the future. And after those 2 full AoE heals, you can still heal with the first spell, Congratulatory Wind, and it will still apply that defense up, boosting 10% damage reduction for the whole fight. You can choose the character, and that will help in very hard challenges. So as you can see, currently this version of Byunei may not seem so special, but she does get better and better with future releases and even changes how she operates. She was a very good debuffer and now she becomes a good boss specialist for hard content. So, if you like Byunei, it's okay to summon for this one, but just know that you may not use her on full potential, as eventually she will just become. With all that said, the character is good, but not meta. Right now, she only takes an SS plus grade in our tier list. As for inheritance, it will depend. If you can debuff, you'll be choosing between Aerodyne, Wind Bloom, or also Heaven's Breeze, or even Trinity Summon. Those spells may work depending on the situations. But I guess that if it doesn't work, you can just inherit Gale Darts, for example, since she can cycle skill 1 to give guard up and then Gale Darts for damage. Or you can also just get a 360 Delta that will also do damage. Better than just casting the skill number 2 all the time, since it's just fully AoE and only see power. Like I said, the attack boost part's not even that important. But when you are on overdrive, you're still gonna use Summer High Wind to get that attack down effect that should help in boss fights. With all that said, Byunei is not meta right now. You can skip her if you want. But here comes the problem. Will she be re-released before the next version? If she will surely be re-released, then it will be easy to just decide to skip now and see when she comes back. But if you want to plan ahead and think about having the perfect build of Byunei, it's okay to summon now, but like I said, you may not get enough utility of this version for the time being. With all that said, she still works as a very defensive healer, and with some added effects on overdrive, she deserves an SS plus grade in our tier list. The next character is Professor, a gunner that was made for farming but does have one passive that helps for bossing. Well, we have 115% dexterity, not the highest one, but good enough, and 105 agility, so those 2 status work well for farming, while endurance is not big, and her will is just average. For passives, we have Hostile Cure 2, starts the fight with 12 BP, and when landing an overdrive attack, recover all surviving allies' HP by medium effect. Well, we do have this thing with time. As you can see here, when activating OD attack, he heals with medium effect. There's also Mask, that also heals on overdrive. Two meta characters that work super well. But the thing is, they do offer other stuff for boss fights, while Professor was not made for bossing, and I'll get into that later. The second passive is called Shooter's Power. On the start of a turn, she buffs her dexterity by 20%, that's nice, and grants her self-defense boost that will decrease damage by 30% and lasts for 1 turn, so she has this all the time. And then fired up 7, increasing damage potential by 40%. It's the only damage passive, but since she buffs her dexterity, it helps her for bossing, if you really want to bring her there, but also helps for farming. Now for skills we have Water Bomb, a 3 BP column attack with blunt and cold damage, C power and 18 mod. For only 3 BP it's not a bad attack at all, but she does not have other column attacks, so only a weak version makes no much sense. The second skill is Thrilling Snipe. For 5 BP you can attack between 1 to 2 times with B power and 21 mod. Well, 50% chance for each result, and it can be good damage or just below average. I don't really like it. It's a skill that you can also find in the second premium version of Fuse, and I never used it to greater extent. The third skill is Wave Riding Genius. For 12 BP you have a full AoE attack with blunt and cold damage, S power and 39 mod. 39 mod and S power was the same mod for many full AoE attacks that was strong enough to kill waves in the past, like Rick. Flame Frenzy, it has the same power and it was enough to kill waves. Now I don't know if it will be enough all the time, she may need help here and there, although 40% damage increase with 20% dexterity boost will more likely be enough to just solo a wave. But what she does after that, that's the question. After using a full AoE attack, she can only attack column. Does it make sense to you? It doesn't make sense to me. And if you want to use her for single target attacks, Thrilling Snipe is just a lot of RNG. She does have a premium style that has an attack that can inflict confusion, but this was very limited and now you can find on off-banner, but I don't think this skill is good enough for 11 BP. Then you have her S version. We'll get Bounce Shot Plus in the future for S power attack with only 6 BP cost. Makes much more sense than Thrilling Snipe. And you do have access to Random Shot Plus, but it costs 5 VP. You cannot use it right after her full AoE attack. So this version of Professor is just here. Works for 1 attack and that's it. It's very, very simple. And the healing effect on overdrive, it's cool and all, but the character itself does not offer anything besides this in a boss fight. So she loses to Mask in time by a lot. So I don't think anyone should be bringing her unless they really lack other AoE healers. Well, with that said, she only deserves an SS grade. It's a very skippable character with not much to offer. Well, Professor gets a future style. It's kind of recent from JP, and this one has a free AoE attack to kind of fix the problems with the current, and she has an attack that applies a permanent defense down, and there is also the normal debuff version, so she can increase damage output by applying this in the enemies. But it's not really a very important character in my opinion, and if you're chasing Professor, you have to know that. The next character is Leslie, and she is an agility debuffer specialist, and because of that she needs a little bit of everything, and actually suffers a lot from status destruction. Her STR is not that high, her endurance is bad, her agility is 90 and intelligence 94. More likely than enough, she will attack before the boss and apply the debuff that you need, but sometimes it will not be fast enough. Her will at least is 81%, that's not that big of a problem. Now, first passive is called Impair 2 Agility. When landing an attack, she has 37% chance to debuff agility from the targets by 20%. And when landing an attack, she also has 37% chance to recover 2 BP. This is exactly the same sort of passive that Jinyu has, but in his case, he debuffs dexterity. In her case, she debuffs agility. The second passive is called Action Switch, and this is one of the best passives in the game currently, kinda wasted on a character without much potential. Well, it relies on attacking with two different elements, slash and cold. Well, the first and third attacks are both slash and cold, with the second being only cold. So you can say that if you cycle between 1 and 3, you will trigger all 4 effects. First, when talking about slash, you get an attack boost of 10% increase in damage that lasts for 3 turns, reaching as much as 30% increase in damage. She also recovers 2 BP. That means that she gets 5 BP per turn. Then, when attacking with cold attacks, she grants herself a defense boost that decreases damage by 20%, lasts for 3 turns, and is stacked 3 times to decrease damage by a lot. It also recovers her HP by around 170s. So the defense boost part is the important one, and the BP part is also the important ones. So if you cycle well enough, you will have them all the time. Then we have Fardat 7 increasing damage by 40%, so she gets to 70% on max potential and has at least 5 BP per turn. Sometimes she gets 2 BP extra as well. Now for skills, the first one is called Ice Blade. It's a single target attack with slash and cold that has a chance to debuff the enemy agility by 15% on max rank. For 2 BP cost, this is actually very nice and will trigger 4 effects from action switch. Skill number 3 is called Ice Fog Smash. For 9 BP you have a fast attack, single target, slash and cold as well, with double S power. And it has a chance to debuff agility by 30%. So it's the highest value we can achieve right now. She can open the fight with this because it's fast, it will always go before the enemy. So it fixes her agility not being so high. And after that you're going to use Ice Blade. And then, when she gets enough BP, you're gonna use Ice Fog Smash again. So, because she actually gets 5 BP per turn in the cycle, when you combine Ice Fog Smash with Ice Blade, it's 11. See, you're only lacking 1. And she sometimes gets it by triggering in pair. That means that usually, on average, you will be cycling 1 Ice Fog Smash, 1 Ice Blade. 1 Ice Fog Smash, 1 Ice Blade. It's a lot of debuff, and this also brings a problem. Boss will have a Dare Sword that when you reach will trigger the Fire weakness, and it will cleanse the debuffs you applied. Sometimes when you want to debuff bosses, you don't want to do very big debuffs because of that. But if the boss does not have the 5 weaknesses, then the Leslie will just help you a lot by debuffing agility and keeping all 4 triggers of action switch active at all times. The second skill is actually a spell and it's called Icicle Pillar and uses her intelligence and agility. And remember, this will not trigger all effects from action switch, so I don't recommend using this. It hits a column of enemies with 8 power and has a chance to debuff agility by 20%. It's kinda similar to Waterfall Blade Plus that you find in many characters, especially on, for example, Gray. Even his Platinum style has access to by inheritance of the S style. This attack has a power in its column, but this one also brings slash. But in the case of Leslie, she's only doing cold damage, and the damage is not even that high to use this character for farming, for example. So just bring Leslie when you really want to debuff agility, and if you want to bring her for remembrance since you don't have anything better. But you may also have the first premium style of Leslie that was released alongside the first Liam banner, and you can get some interesting inheritances. Icicle Surge is a 9 BP fully AoE attack, without much power, it's only C, but it does have Slash and Cold that will trigger all effects from action switch, and it buffs all surviving allies STR by 40% on max level. She gets at least 5 BP per turn, that means that she can buff every 2 turns at least, right? There is also Aqua Flash, and you can use this instead of the first skill, but it costs 3 BP instead of 2, and it's full AoE instead of single target. It's more about the situations where you want to use this skill. And the last one is Droplet, a single target spell that heals and revives with 3 BP cost and 1 LP cost. Besides healing, it also casts Ward Up Medium for 2 turns, decreasing damage by 25%. So you can actually use Leslie as a dedicated healer for remembrance if you really want that. But in my opinion, bringing someone like Rag Robin is more than enough. Although he does not revive, you can just reset till things work. Well, that's Leslie, a character with a very limited design. She's a very good agility debuffer in a game that does not want you to debuff, hence why she is gonna be used in very, very specific situations if you get her. Besides, her utility is just wasted. Because of that, I think she only deserves an SS- grade on the tier list, and it's a very easily skippable character. This is also her last style up to this point in JP, so she's everything you see right now. Now back to the banner image. Is this banner worth summoning for? Well, right now, for the current game, no, because Byunei does not offer enough right now. And Professor and Leslie look like they were designed some months ago. They have some imperfect balance of utility and skills, and they won't offer enough even looking into the future. But if you like Byunei, she does have a future and will become a meta character eventually again. But if you can wait, she may get a rerun, and depending on who she's paired up with, may give you more value than summoning for Professor and Leslie on the same time. But even if you decide to ignore this Byunei, I believe that the two next versions of her will just offer enough even if you skip this. But I'm not entirely sure what I'm gonna do. I want to summon for Liza, so we'll see if I get her too fast to summon for Byunei. But just know that right now, Byunei utility is not enough to justify pulling. With all that said, this is my opinion. What is yours? Please see here on the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you still haven't. If you want to support the channel, there are links in the description of the video. I hope to see you soon in the next one. Bye.